Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Wind Down Fridays. We'll give a sister a hug, the Survivor episode edition this October. So, as you all know, October is domestic violence awareness and breast cancer awareness. I'm your girl, Arthur Erica. I have my fabulous co-host on with me today, Arthur
Hey.
Kim, and we're gonna have a special guest on today with us, Bobbie. First, I want to say thanks, Bobbie, for taking time out your busy day to sharing your story and also having that courage because I know everybody don't have the courage. So, thanks for having that courage and just being strong to share your story. So we're gonna pass the floor off to our good friend Bobbie.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. So, my story is not different than many, but I will go ahead and from the beginning. I was married. I was active duty military. My husband was active duty military. We had a 3-year-old child. Never gave me any indication that he would ever hurt me. Never. Never raised his voice, never raised his hand. It seemed like we were having the wonderful life that my mom always talked about. A week before, we had just had our wedding, our church wedding. The white dress, bridesmaids, everything. So everything seemed to be going great. Well, on a Saturday night, we went to a party with friends, and we were there having a great time. I was a paramedic, so the next morning I had to work. I had to drive the ambulance. So I said, I'm going to leave a little bit early. I got to get home. You know, our baby. I said I got to pick the baby up, put her to bed. He's like, okay, I'll see you later. I'm going to stay a little while longer. 3:26 in the morning, I feel this pressure on my chest. He had jumped on me and started hitting my face, choking me, screaming and yelling at me. It was like a totally different person I had never seen. And I mean, I'm talking about it hurt so bad because it was like he was a different person. I
Mhm.
don't it was almost like he was possessed. The appearance of his face was distorted and I'm not a big girl. Well, back then I wasn't a big girl. I'm a little bit bigger now. However, um I was in shock. So, we
Mhm.
were fighting in the bedroom, we were fighting in the living room. My 3-year-old child heard all the commotion. She comes running, jumps on her daddy's back. He threw across the room. And
Oh.
at that point, I realized this was not the man I married. And him and I were fighting, and he messed around and let me get to my kitchen. Bad move for him. So he was still trying to hurt me, still trying to hurt me. I turned around and got into my knives. Um, he has a scar from the corner of his right side all the way around to the left side of his thigh. He messed around, let me get my kitchen. I ran out the house. I know my baby was in there, but I ran out the house and we ran upstairs because we were in Germany and we were in an apartment complex. I was banging on the door, banging on the door. My neighbor husband opened up the door and says, "What the fuck?" He brought me in the house and they were trying to check on me. And he comes running, banging on the door. And he's like, "I'm going to let him in." I said, "Don't let him in." He said, "No, I'm going to let him in so I can see what's going on." He let him in. He was calm for a second, and then he tried to reach around this man that was about 6'6". I mean, a big guy. He tried to reach around him to get to me.
Mhm.
And my neighbor basically punched him in the mouth and knocked him out. And
Oh
he says,
wow.
"Okay, I need to get you to the ER right now." I said, "My baby's downstairs." He says, "I'm going to go downstairs. I'll get the baby. We're going to bring the baby up here to my house. She can stay with my wife." So we get to the ER and they're like, "Oh, Bobbie's here." They're like, "Oh, great." And they're like, "No, it's not great." I was covered in blood from the top of my head to the soles of my feet.
Oh wow.
I had a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on that looked like I was in the movie Carrie. There was so much blood.
Um,
So I ended up having a concussion, a broken nose, two black eyes. I had strangulation marks on my neck. This right here is a bridge. He knocked out my teeth. I had 36 stitches inside my mouth. I had 7 fractured ribs. a broken wrist. I had bruises all over my legs, all on my back. And what tore the people apart that I worked with is I had a footprint in the middle of my back where he
Oh,
Oh,
pushed
wow.
me. This was the hardest thing I'd ever thought I would ever have to see. I mean, when the MPs got there, they asked me, they said, "What do you want to do?" And all I remember was turning around and go, "I want his ass fried."
Mhm.
So they had to go to my house. He was in my house, totally passed out, didn't know anything. But the MPs knew me because I worked in the hospital. They wrapped their billy clubs with newspapers and they beat the fire. They beat him.
Well,
Now, the MPs and my commander called my mother. My mother is 5'5". My mother flew all the way from Oklahoma to Germany. My ex-husband was only like 6'2". It took 4 men to get her off of him.
oh,
Mama was moving furniture around here.
man. Okay.
Let me tell you, she went to his company because my father was in the military, so he was a colonel. So she knew her way around military posts. She knew protocol. She knew everything. She went to
Mhm.
his company commander, said, "I need to talk to him." And the next thing you know, you hear cussing and stuff flying through. But the fact that she showed up just because she didn't tell me she was coming, I didn't know she was coming. And then they put us in a safe house because I didn't want to go back. They said they put us in a safe house for my safety. I know exactly what they did. They went back to my apartment, got all the evidence, they painted it, cleaned it, whatever, and they had me in a safe house. Me and my daughter came out of the safe house. He was standing out there. I peed on myself.
Oh,
And
wow.
my baby started screaming her head off. The MPs were somehow came. I don't know how. Well, yeah, no, God was right there. The MPs pulled him and said, "What are you doing over here? You ain't supposed to be over here. You're supposed to be stuck to your barracks. You're not supposed to leave."
Mhm.
But he didn't care. And so it was so hard to realize that the person that you laid down with, that you confided in, you did everything together, you had a child with, would do this. I was still in shock. I was like, what is going on? I was like, what in the world did I, because I was blaming myself. What did I do?
Mhm.
What did I do to make him do this? Am I not a good enough wife? Am I not a good enough mother? What did I do? I was doing the blame game like every woman does. And so I ended up having to get admitted to the hospital because my rib fractures were so bad it punctured one of my lungs. We didn't
Oh,
realize it punctured one of my lungs until like 2 days later. And so my mother stayed in Germany with me for like 3 weeks. She took care of my baby and she gave the people on the post terror. She gave them so much terror. She's like, she is not going back to the apartment. You need to get her, you need to move her out of here, transfer her and her baby's got to go. They got to go.
mm. Mhm.
So it was really hard because at first my company commander was like, "No, she needs to stay here. She can deal with it." And this is way before they recognized PTSD. I
Right.
mean, I'm 62 years old. And so back then, when this all happened, I was 23 years old.
Mhm.
And there's not a day that sometimes I don't remember everything. And there's been days where I have fallen apart because it bothers me to see these young women, even old women or any woman that stay in a relationship because these men have controlled their whole life. You
Mhm.
know, well, I was raised up that I'm supposed to be submissive to my husband biblically.
Husband. Mhm.
But he's
Mm.
supposed to be a leader. Now, if he's a leader, I was, he when we first got together, he was that leader.
Mhm.
But if I had not been in the military, I don't think I would have been able to make it because, here it was. I had a child. I didn't, what am I going to do? That's the problem that a lot of women are facing with. They don't know how to get
Mhm.
out of that. And I get so angry when I hear people go, "Why don't she just leave?"
It's not that simple.
You don't notice it because you have
Mm.
financial abuse, you got physical abuse, you got mental abuse, sexual abuse, the whole bit. But
Mm.
I was able to get away from it, and I ended up going to California. You know where this knucklehead ended up at?
California with you.
The same place. I am coming out the commissary, and guess who I walk into? I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, we still legally married, so they're going to still put me at, we have what we call joint domicile, where they have
Mhm.
two military people that are married together, where you get to stay on the same post. I went to the post commander. I said, we are not supposed to be on joint domicile. He said, I'm sorry. He says, until you legally divorce him, wherever you're at, he can be at. So it
Wow.
was a mess. And then, of course, I started going back to church, and the thing that I kept hearing going, well, baby, you need to work it out with your man. That's your baby's daddy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
guess what I did? I ended up going back with him.
Mhm.
I went back with him, and we ended up having another child. Never put another hand on me. However, I found out what happened. I found out that he was using cocaine and all this other stuff. And I said, that you got to go. You got to go. So when I was pregnant with my son, I was 6 months pregnant. He decided that he was going to go ahead and get out the army, and he left. And I was like, okay, so God blessed me with with a son, and I think that's what I needed.
Mhm.
And then I hadn't seen him, and then it wasn't until like I was 35 years old that he ran across me again. I'm like, can you
Okay.
please not come near me? Because his mother and I remained close. I mean, his mother has nothing to do with him,
Right.
and my daughter has nothing to do with her father. My son has nothing to do with him, because I showed them pictures when they got older, because I wanted them to understand. And I told my daughter, I said, you never let a man hit you. I don't care what it is. I said, if they start play tapping with you,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
need to be
Mhm.
careful. And my
Mhm.
son, I told him, I said, you better never in your life hit a woman. I said, because if you hit a woman, you're going to have to deal with me. And I said, I'm crazy.
Right.
And
Right.
it's funny. My son is married, and my daughter-in-law said, every time she would see me, she says, you have raised a great son. I said, why? She says, I'd be trying to see how if I can make him mad, if he's going to, do anything. I said, why would you do that? She says, I need to know what he's going to be like when he's mad before I get married to him. I said, well, yeah, that's a good thing. She says, your son has never raised his voice with me. She says, he kind of raised his eyebrow, but he won't. She said, he will not argue with me. He will not argue. And when they got married, it was like, it doesn't matter how bad we get. If you get mad, I get mad. We go in the bedroom. You go in one room. We go. I'm not getting a divorce. He says, as
Mhm.
long as you don't hit me and I don't hit you, we good.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
our young women need to realize that you are more than enough. You
Yes.
are wonderfully made. You're nobody's punching bag. You were not created for this.
Mhm.
And just to realize there's warning signs, because I have two nieces that have been killed by their ex-boyfriends.
Oh wow.
My oldest niece, she was in school. She wanted to be a lawyer. 2015. We had no idea this boy was hitting her, because he would hit her from like her shoulders, between her shoulders and her hips. He would never put any. We did not realize it until we had to go view her body. And my brother says, I need you to come with me. And the look on his face when he saw that, just the rage,
Mhm.
it was unreal. It was
Mhm.
unreal. And then my baby girl, she's 22 now. She was a freshman in high school. When we went to the viewing, she wouldn't go up there. So a couple of her uncles were sitting there talking to her. And finally, she went ahead and went to see Mariah. And this child had the most blood curdling scream I'd ever heard in my life. It's just as women, we should not have to see other women go
Mhm.
through. And and then my other niece died 3 months after they graduated high school. Her ex-boyfriend ran her down in the middle of the street and killed her in the middle of the street.
Wow.
And it's just, my thing is, You've got to be strong. Watch out for warning signs. Like if he doesn't want you around your friends and family, he wants to control what you're wearing. He wants to look at your phone. If you move in together and you do anything, he tries to alienate you from your family, baby, those are red flags. Move out. Get away. Get away. But the first thing is if they start trying to control you at any time, that's the biggest sign. That is the biggest sign. And even though in my
Yes.
situation I didn't have none of that, um, it's just oof. It's hard. It's
It is.
really hard. And even to this day I tear up because I was not raised that way. It's like I was not raised to be somebody's punching bag. My mother, now my mama would knock me upside my head when I was bad.
Right.
But my father was 6'8", weighed like 320 pounds, played football for Texas A&M, and he never lifted a finger. My mother would make him so mad. He would never lift a finger. He's like, okay, baby, whatever. Okay, sure, got it. I'd be looking at him like, don't you get mad? He's like, yeah, she makes me mad. He says, but I'm not going to hit her. That's not what I do. I'm supposed to take care of my wife.
Mhm.
But a lot of women don't have that comfort, or they don't know how they should be loved. And I know a lot of people say, well, single mothers this, and there is a lot of things, because if we don't have a role model of show us of how a man is supposed to love us,
Right.
when we get older, we don't know what it's supposed to be like.
Right.
We don't know that it's supposed to be, that he's supposed to be comforting. He's supposed to be
Mhm.
warm and compassionate and listen to us and treat us like the queens that we are. And there's so many young girls that don't know that. My youngest baby is 22, and I told her, I said, let me tell you something. Let somebody raise their hand at you. I said, I will wear an orange jumpsuit without a problem.
Yep.
And she's like, that ain't gonna happen with me.
Yep.
And I told her, I said, I'm glad that. I said, but a lot of young girls say the same thing. Oh no, it would never happen to me. This would never happen to me.
Yep,
And what
because they
happened?
miss the flags. They see, they see something, they miss the flags, and then, oh, it's okay because he's just having a bad day. And before they know it, they're in this same vicious cycle for years. And then they can't figure out why they can't get out of this vicious cycle.
You have that whole, I'm doing great. Things escalate. They escalate some more. Then he goes off and beats the fire out you. And then it's the honeymoon phase again. And what kills me is he wants to beat the brakes off of me and then have sex with me. You have lost your love of mine.
That part, I never understood that part. I never understood.
They're serious.
How can you hate me? Because you didn't told me that you hate me. You didn't call me every name that you can think of. But then in a matter of 2.5 seconds, you done made me black and blue from head to toe. I'm sitting up here crying and telling you to stop, and all in the same sense you want to have sex, and then that's how you apologize. I don't understand.
That's where that saying "make up sex" came from. I mean, a lot of people don't realize it. That's I've heard of make up sex. You get in a fight with your friend, whatever. But that whole analogy came from a abuser taking over and then saying, okay, I'm going to have sex with you because I love you. But I think what it is when they're that twisted, it makes them excited because they have control. Because we know, just like rapists, this is all about control.
Yep.
Most men who are rapists, it's not for sex, it's for power over a woman. They just want that power. And the same thing is with a domestic abuse spouse. They want that power. And a lot of people don't realize a lot of men are getting beaten up, and that's not publicly shared as much as it should. Because they don't want to talk about it because they're supposed to be the man, they're supposed to be, Mr. Macho. But, I have a patient that comes in, and this guy is about 6'3". I mean, he's a big guy. I mean, he probably played high school football. And he's come in there before where his stomach is tore up. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, Miss Bobbie, he said, my wife. I said, you let that little bitty woman hit you. What is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, when they got married, he let her have control of the money because he wasn't very good with the money. So he has no access to his bank accounts, even though he's the one making all the money. He has no access to the bank accounts. I mean, it's just crazy. But, we've just got to do better. And hopefully, our young women watching this will understand that it can be the perfect relationship or think it's the perfect relationship. It can turn around on a dime. And the thing of it is, you have to take care of yourself because I did not want my daughter to think it was all right for some
Mm-hmm.
man to hit her.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the problem that we have. A lot of women that stay, their sons see it and
Mm-hmm.
grow up thinking it's a normal behavior, thinking that's how you show love to your woman. And daughters are growing up thinking that's a normal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a normal behavior. So we have to stop that stereotype.
Yes.
When you was in your relationship, did it started off with physical violence or it started off with mental?
I think with us, it was mental because he would tell me, you ain't about nothing. You can't do nothing without me. Where would you be without me? And I was like, nobody wants you. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? So I must be doing something right because you married me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it's just when anything would go wrong with him, if he had a bad day at work, I knew it was going to be rough. But before the physical, because mostly it was just mental until that one day. But he was
Mm-hmm.
always, or he would always try to start an argument while I'm trying to go to work. And I was like, I work in the ER. Last thing I need to do is be stressing about home
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and not being able to think about my patients. Having to deal with you going, or if I didn't make what he wanted for dinner, he would just go ballistic. I remember one time he threw a plate clear across the room and almost hit my daughter in the head. I was like, what the? And
Mm-hmm.
I missed that sign. I
Mm-hmm.
missed that sign. I should have known then. But, since he had never hit me, it didn't really, I didn't really, I didn't really comprehend at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I think
and
some
it's
of
like,
it too is we don't see it. We don't see it at home, and we don't know anybody that's close to us. We really don't know what the signs and I always want to say symptoms, but that's not it. But or what the signs are because we've never
yeah,
seen it before. We don't know what it is
no,
because that's not how we were raised. So then we're looking like,
no.
well, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Because I don't know nobody else that's dealt with this.
Because it's a hush hush thing. It's a
Mm,
hush hush thing, and because women are not going to talk about that. I mean, I would never have told. The only reason my best friend knew about it because she worked in the ER. She was working that morning when I came in. But
mhm,
if I had not been that bad up, probably nobody would. If he had just done a little bit, nobody would have known.
mhm,
You know, because I would have kept it myself, just like a lot of women.
mhm,
They keep it to themselves. There's so many movies out here about women being beaten. If
mhm.
nothing else, women should have learned when they watched the Tina Turner movie
Right. Yeah, that
or
was a
that
good
movie
Girl,
or
that
that movie.
that right there in itself says it all.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yes.
and then that other movie, what was it? Enough.
Enough with Jennifer
Enough.
Enough.
Lopez.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the Madeira's movie. Was it Family Reunion when she was the girl that's supposed to be getting married?
Yeah, that was the
Now,
yep, that was the play. That he did the play in the movie. Yep.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And see the one, and this is going to sound really strange. A lot of people, once they found out what happened to me, I had a girl tell me, "Well, that's what you get for marrying a black man." Excuse me?
What they got
And
to do
She
what?
with
said,
it?
"Yeah."
What the hell they got to do with it? Color ain't got shit to do with it. I'm sorry. It ain't got nothing to do with
But
it.
that's a lot of people. When they found out what happened to me, they said, "Well, that's what you get for marrying one of those." One of what?
What is one of those?
Girl, hush.
You know what that is? I mean,
Whatever.
it's just,
Oh Lord. People really just they just really behooves me. I'm gonna use that word. They really behooves me because I really just don't understand, because it doesn't, in all actuality, when we've talked to a lot of women, we haven't had a man this October at all. We've talked to a lot of women, and the majority of the women have been white, because in the Black community, they don't want to tell their story, because it's in that community, what happens in my house stays in my house, and that's how that's how we are raised. So since that's how we are raised, we don't talk about it, even though 9 times out of 10 your mama might know about it, but she ain't on your side, she on his side.
Yeah, and and it's just, I remember when my daughter my middle daughter, when she was in high school, so my baby weighed 106 pounds. She was dating a lineman on the football team, so he weighed about 220 pounds. They got into an argument in front of my house on my porch. I had an old house on my porch, and I heard her say, "Don't you dare slap me." All I remember is running from the back end of my house, out my front door, jumping him, and this house had a porch, a 6-foot drop porch. Jumping him, we both landed on the ground, and I told her, I said, "Call his mama," and I had my knees in his shoulders. He's looking at me like, I said, "I don't know who you think you are," but I said, "That one's the wrong one, baby." His mama got there. His mama got there because Shayla told her what happened. His mama got there. She pulled up to my house. She got out that car. She had a belt. She beat the brakes off this boy and says, "I don't know who you think." He said, "First of all, you cannot be hitting that little girl." She said, "Second of all, that you realize her mama is crazy. You will go to jail today."
Right, you're right.
And after that she broke, she broke up with him, because she's like, here's your class ring, here's your jacket. I don't want nothing to do with you. Don't call me, don't talk to me, don't text me. So when they went back to school on Monday, because they were the ideal couple. They were the homecoming king and queen, and they, because she was a cheerleader, he was a football player. And everybody at school was like, "What?" And she wasn't talking about it. And then apparently my son, because the guy wouldn't say anything. He said, "You want to know why my sister broke up with him?" They're like, "Yeah." He says, "He tried to hit her." And they all looked at him going, "That girl is only 100 pounds. You could have hurt her." And then the questions were like, "Oh, what her mama do?" And she's like, "I'd rather not talk about it. I'd rather not talk about it."
Because mama crazy, because we don't play that. Now, what you not gonna do is touch my child.
Being in the military, you think being in the military, did they handle your domestic violence case differently, or is it the same as if you wasn't in the military? Do they do things a little bit stricter, or they handle it
Well,
just about the same?
honestly, they basically failed me. They basically failed me. Of course, he was supposed to have been restricted to barracks, but they didn't push it. And then I got what they call compassionate reassignment to California, but they still let him go there. It's the same, it's supposed to be equal to the civilian sector, but however, a lot of times they favor the male. Like when a woman gets raped, because they'll ask the woman, "Well, why you want to ruin this man's career? We seen you talking to him before. Y'all are friends."
So
But that when I say,
on the woman.
yeah, they, it's gotten better because now they have programs. But when I was in, I had a girlfriend that got raped, and when we went down to the police station, the MP station on post, which is the military police, first thing that came out their mouth was, "Why y'all want to ruin this man's career?"
Because he ruined my life, fucker.
We're like, "Excuse me? What do you mean?" "Well, why are you trying to ruin his career?" Because they always sided for the male. And that's why they got this, what is called sexual awareness. I forgot what it's called. It's called SHARP, but it's something, sexual harassment and rape prevention program. And, and it does a lot of education, but they have it in now where women are getting a little bit better treatment than before when I was in. It's just many times the woman is the victim, because it doesn't matter if I walked out my house butt booty naked. When I tell you no, it's no. It should not, it's no. It
Mm-hmm.
is no. And this country has such a high number of rapes and assault. It is ridiculous. Like the girl that happened in Philadelphia. What does that say about this country? They watched this girl for 7 minutes get raped on a train, and people recorded it, and nobody intervened.
And nobody said a word.
Right.
What does that
Mhm.
say about this country?
And look at the girl that was in the army. Her mom and her family was on the red table talk with Jada Pinkett. Her
Yeah.
the commander, her CO raped her and killed her, and they covered
Mhm.
that up for a long time.
Yeah, they did, and they did, and that's like Vanessa up in Fort Hood is horrible.
It is.
Vanessa, she was killed and they buried her body, and I mean, this is just ridiculous. The value of women should be up, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like the value of women is on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they forget that if it wasn't for us, we bring souls between our legs. We
Yes.
bring poor souls
Exactly.
between our legs.
Yes.
And they have just forgotten that we are not supposed to be treated like this. When people say, treat me, yes, I want you to treat me like a queen.
Mm-hmm.
Because the man that I'm dating now, when we first started dating, we had long conversations because I like to be transparent with everything I've gone through because sometimes I do have baggage
Mm-hmm.
and you know and I mean I have actually made him angry on purpose to
Mm-hmm.
see how he would react. And he's like, I don't like that. And he cusses underneath his underneath his tongue. And he says, but I can tell you this, my mama would kill me if I ever laid hands on a woman. He says, because how am I supposed to love you
Mm-hmm.
and be your partner and hit you, but then try to lay with you?
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
says, that's not love. That's
Mm-hmm.
control.
It
And
is.
that's what it is that like these men try to control. They want to control. They want to control everything they wear, everything they do. You can't go with your friends. Let me look at your phone. I don't have a problem. If I'm dating someone now with him, I can give him my phone. I don't even worry about it. He gives me his phone. Because my thing is, if I'm dating somebody, I need to be transparent with them. I need to let them know what kind of baggage I have. And this is baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been days, um, okay, I'm gonna be real, not graphic, but the first time we were intimate, it freaked me out because it'd been a while
Mm-hmm.
and there was just so much emotion with me. I was afraid. And I just kind of froze up. He's like, okay, baby, hold on. What is going on? I
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't know if I can do this. He says, look, we don't have to. We don't have to. He says, whenever you're ready. And therapy. I had never went to therapy and I started going to therapy and it was the best thing I've done because I
Mm-hmm.
I open up my mouth, I say exactly how I'm feeling,
Yep.
Mhm.
and you have to do that. If you
Yep.
don't do that, you'll never get through this.
X. That is true. And a lot of people don't see that we have to go through what I would call a healing journey. You have to get that
Mhm.
toxicity out your system. You got to get it out, and then you got to start from rebuilding from within. What makes you
Mhm.
happy? Things along those lines. You had self-care, self-awareness, self-love. It starts with you, because if you can't love yourself, you can't love nobody else.
No.
So what made you in your domestic violence relationship? What point it got to before you really realized I need to leave this situation? This is not healthy for me.
Um so like I said before, I was kind of pressured to get back together with him by not my mother, but my church family, whatever. But when I got pregnant with my son, I started seeing those crazy signs again but I was very aware of them this time. So, when I was pregnant with my son, he's like, "No, you can't wear that. You're a pregnant woman. You can't be wearing that." And I'm like, "It's a t-shirt and a pair of jeans."
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
wanted me to wear them big old pregnant women. No. No, 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 no. I'll wear my pants and I'll unzip them a little bit and I have a long t-shirt. because I refused to wear maternity clothes. I was like, I'm not my mother. But it took a while. But when I realized what the signs were, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I can't. I'm not going to go through this again.
Right.
That's good. I mean, I'm glad that you were able to have your son, with no complications, and then after that, because you left for a while before you got back with him, and
I did,
y'all
and but
had
and it's like, like I said, I started going to church, and they were like, well, you need to be with your husband because biblical, and I'm thinking to myself, this is not right. Why would I do that? And then after a while, it was just, he was coming by to get my daughter, but I would never be there. My friend would be at the house. And then one day he gave her a card, and then he was, delivering her letters, and, and then I was like, should I give him another chance? I don't know about this. But if I knew then what I knew now, no. Mm-mm.
Because after that one incident, he didn't do anything else. The mental just
Yeah,
kept
it was
going.
just mental. It was just, why are you doing that? You don't know how to raise our, he was like, you don't know how to raise the children. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to, and I'm like, okay. And then I'm thinking, why did you even come back here? It's just.
So, looking back on the situation, you think you would have married him if you would have knew it was going to turn out the way it turned out?
Oh, hell no. Hell to the no. No. Ain't no way in the world. Don't matter how good no way in the world.
Yeah.
And see that? No. Mm-mm. No. And the other thing is, a lot of guys will shower these women with lots of expensive gifts, buy them cars, especially if you've got a girl. So I grew up on a reservation. So, when I was growing up, we didn't have running water. We had water from wells.
Right.
So if you have a woman that's never had, the finer things in life, it doesn't even matter. Just running water. When I got in the military and I had running water, I about flipped out. And it's just that's one of the things that it's like almost like how what was that movie? The movie where they have the pimps that do everything for these girls that they get off the bus. They treat them right. They get, they dress them. They do all these nice things. They have sex with them, and then they beat them up and say, "You're gonna work for me." And this poor girl's away from home. She ain't got nobody. She doesn't know how to eat, and then she ends up doing that because she's stuck in a situation.
Yep. Like it's
And
sex
sometimes
trafficking.
being in that situation of domestic abuse, we're in the same situation.
Yep. And sex trafficking is what that is.
Right. Basically. Yes, basically that's what it is. So, as of today, what's Miss Bobbie mental state right now? What's her love life looking like, and what's the future looking like for her?
Well, my love life.
Sound like
I will be
that was
getting
that's
married
something we
to
want
a
to
very
talk about.
wonderful man whose name is
Okay.
actually also, he goes by Bobbie also.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bobbie Squared. And he is retired Air Force. And he is really a great man. He's very patient with me. He lets me vent sometimes. But I try my best to have a positive outlook because I went through something horrible, but I learned something about myself. I learned that I can do anything I need to do, that I'm stronger than what I thought I was. I'm determined, and my goal is to prevent these young women going through the same thing that I went through. Because I live in Georgia, so whenever we have our domestic violence walk, I'm always there. I've done seminars for it. Um, so usually in the month of October, you'll see domestic violence stuff on my Facebook page, on my Instagram, everywhere. And they're like, you post a lot on it, but I also post it all through the year, you know. But in October, from the day October 1st goes till the end of the month, there's something on my page every day. You know.
Because it honestly, because it takes a village to bring awareness. I have a nonprofit for domestic violence, and I'm just one little person, and I'm trying to, just like everybody else, I just want to spread awareness. I want everybody to know that domestic violence is real. It's not, a joke. And it's the police don't give a damn about you. The army don't give a damn about you. So it's like you have to have someone that, you can trust for your resources, and someone you can talk to try to talk you, out of hopefully getting away from that crazy person. But we're just one person. But if we can all stick together
Yeah.
and bring awareness, we definitely doing something.
Even
Yeah,
down to
exactly.
education. I was just today looking at this movie Mad, and this girl, she she um she was in a relationship, and she didn't know that she was in a domestic violence. So you have some girls out here that don't even know, because she went to the social worker, and the social worker was like, well, why are you trying to get into domestic violence shelter? And she was like, well, that's what they told me I need, but I don't need that, because he only get mad and throw something or punch the wall. And the lady looked at her. The lady was like, huh, you in a domestic violence relationship. And she said, he don't hit me. I don't have a black eye. And she gave her a book and a little pamphlet. And she said, you need to read this because you in a domestic violence relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes back to, like, some girls, some young girls, they are in relationships and they don't really realize
They
that
don't
they
realize
are,
it.
yeah, that they are in a domestic violence relationship, because people tend to put domestic violence just in a box of hitting. And it's more than that. It's financial, it's control, it's emotion, it's bullying, it's all of these things. But they tend
Exactly.
to, you still have young girls, and it's important that we all educate our young girls that domestic violence is not just hitting. And the police need to be educated. I feel like judges need to be educated. Everybody needs to be educated, because domestic violence is just not a hit. It's all these
Mm-hmm.
many things. Bullying, they consider bullying domestic violence.
Yeah.
So, some girls get wrapped up in situations to where they don't know. They don't know that it's domestic violence, because she was like, I'm not, he didn't hit me. And the girl say, you're right, he didn't hit you. He hit the wall next to you. So the next time it's going to be your
It's gonna be
face.
you.
Right. So we have to educate, bring awareness. We have to do all these things collectively, because just like it takes a village to raise a kid, it takes a village to try to spread the awareness. But some girls
Yeah.
just don't get it at times.
They
Because
don't.
the thing of it is like these little, especially, I mean, when I say little girls, I'm talking about the middle school, because it starts as early as middle
Yes,
school.
yes, it
Because these little
does.
girls, like when you're tussling at school, you're slapping somebody, y'all, and they may not realize it. Even the boys may not realize that they may not even realize what that can lead up to. But if you are comfortable with you and your homeboy slapping each other side of the head and don't think nothing of it, when you get in high school and you're dating him and he does that or he pushes you,
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking, oh, he's still playing. But he pushes you down the stairs and you fall and bust your head.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he didn't mean to do that. We were just
We were
playing
just
around.
playing. Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens to a lot of young girls because they just don't they're not corresponding him him play hitting me to real hitting me.
And
Mm-hmm.
we got to stop the play hitting, because
Yeah.
I think if we stop the play hitting in a relationship, then you could probably recognize or see the signs. But
Mm-hmm.
at some point, that should be a boundary that we don't do, the
Mm-hmm.
play hitting.
And the other thing that they have is, we know nowadays that our young teens and young adolescents, we know they're having sex a whole lot earlier. Well, I know they are than I did. 'Cause I
Uh-huh.
was old.
Yeah.
Compared to their name, that my daughter said, "Oh my gosh, you were so old." I was like, "I was 18." "Oh my God, you were so old." And I'm thinking, "How old are you guys having that?" But when these boys are pushing these girls to have sex at that early age, that can actually be considered a form of domestic abuse because it's leading up to sexual assault. Because, baby, if you love me, you'll do this.
Yep.
So
That's
basically, you are
famous words right
intimidating
there.
her. Huh?
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the famous words right there. If you love me, we'll have sex. If
Yeah,
you love me, you will give it to me.
and here she is afraid, she, loves him, that she thinks she loves him, and or he's the most popular guy and
Yeah.
whatever. She doesn't want to be by herself. And so she'll let him pressure her into doing this. And basically, she's really not giving consent.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, even by law, it may not be considered sexual assault, but it's a form of domestic abuse
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
because he's using that sex as a power tool for him, for
Yep.
her.
Yep.
That is.
Yep.
So, Miss Bobbie, you have any before we close out and leave, do you have anything, any lasting words that a lady or a guy that's in a situation, you have any final words for them?
Be strong. Be strong. Take care of you. Nobody is going to take care of you. First of all, nobody's going to take care of you like your mama. However, you need to take care of you because you are all you got.
Mhm.
If you don't take care of yourself, no one else will. And if
Facts.
somebody loves you, they should not be hurting you because you know that old saying, love doesn't hurt?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. If I love you
Mm-hmm.
or you love me, I should not be getting hurt or you should not be getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to the signs, and they may be very subtle, but pay attention to the signs. And that's about it.
Yep. I agree with
Right.
that. I agree with that.
And that's the Mary had a little lamb. So I want to say thanks from joining us today on Wind Down Fridays will Give a Sister a Hug and even sharing your story with us today because it takes a lot. Everybody don't have that power. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
don't have that energy to even say, let's tell my story because some of us are still ashamed of our story. But in actuality, it's our story. It's who we are. That's a
Mm-hmm.
part. That's a chapter of our lives that we have to accept. So I want to say thanks from even allowing Give a Sister a Hug to share your story on our platform. So
Well,
before
thank
we leave,
you.
before we leave, sister, give us a positive affirmation before we get out of here.
Who, me?
Sister Kim,
Oh,
we need a positive affirmation. Don't go to
um,
don't go to
positive.
your crazy bag of affirmations.
Okay, because I'll be having some crazy ones. You know, uh, let's see here. Positive affirmation. I'm always go with be kind. Be kind to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Be at the end of the day, you have to put yourself first. You got to think
yeah.
about yourself, and it's supposed to be yourself, your kids, and then your spouse. See, everybody say something different. If you're on the lower side, then it's the Lord, then your spouse, and then your kids. Well, it depends on how you want to go. But I'm going to say, take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of you, who gonna take care of you? You have to do it. So start with self. Make yourself happy. Do something that you love to do. Period. Okay,
Exactly.
So, Miss
that's it.
Bobby, you have a positive affirmation for us?
Mm. Ooh.
Ooh, Miss Bobby, that's not a positive affirmation.
Woo. You walk like you are the wondrous woman that you are.
Oh, I like that.
I like
And
that.
you know
Yeah.
what? We gonna end on that. You walk like I
Mhm.
love that. I
Yeah.
love it, Miss Bobby. And we gonna end on that. So thanks for tuning in to Wind
You ain't
Down
got no
Friday.
positive
No, Miss
affirmation,
Bobby to
sister?
set the tone with that one. She done set the tone with that one. I can't top that one. So thanks for tuning in to Wind Down Fridays will Give a Sister a Hug, the Survivor Edition. I'm your girl, Author Erica. I have my fabulous co-host on, Author Kim, and our good friend, Miss Bobby. And I just want to
Yes.
say thank you, and thanks everybody
Yes.
for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.